Right. Loose ends is something I love talking about. And it's not to everyone's interest, but I love it because it's tying up all these things. I took Jason's engine back and I'm waiting to get his coupe one, his hardtop one. I'll rebuild that. And I'm actually looking forward to that because it's a much easier job. And I've got mine, and that's what this video is about. But I love talking about loose ends because I've got this door card to go on Graham's car. This one here. The one that's on the car's got a tear in it, so I bought that for it. And the cold air intake, and I can't find it. I don't know what to do with the cold air intake. But I will find it. I will find it. I'm sure I put it in here somewhere. But you know the good thing about loose ends, I will say this, is it gets rid of all your odds and ends. So you know exactly what to throw out after you're finished. And it gives you a sense of accomplishment too. So I'm going to keep looking. I'm in a good mood today. It's Cup Day, Melbourne Cup Day. So it's the horse race day. And it's public holiday, which means I'm here. I'm not at work. Giving the cylinders a very light scuffing. Just as the wear pattern in the old pistons. This is already oiled up pretty much. And, you know, there were a couple of uneven wear marks there from rings. Probably should give that one a bit more. I go up and down quickly with the hone, only have it rotating at a limited speed, because that way you get a better crosshatch. So I think it'll be fine. Yeah, I've got to wash the block all over again after this, because of all the bits and pieces still in there. And I'm only giving it a few strokes. Like that. That's more than enough. And that was magic. There's a bit of a stain there, but I don't think that matters. Let's have a sticky. I can't find my straight edge. I just want to have a look at how deep that. The scratch I don't care about, it's the other bit. Let's have a sticky at this. A home handyman home job. That looks semi alright. It'll certainly do for what we're doing. Interestingly, this has been valve relieved, but not much. Jason's was a lot more. And his hadn't been, is that focusing? His hadn't been rebuilt before. Whereas the other two Clevelands I got here haven't been relieved at all. Oddly enough, I've only seen it on 302s, not 351s. Right, so there we go. It's looking fairly honey. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. That'll do for now. It's quite a rough hone, but it will do. So now we've got to clean these out, get rid of any muck. And it's getting out dust and crap from the galleries like that. Just dried up, oily deposits. Now I've sort of washed the thing in thinners, but brake clean is great to get into these sorts of areas. We'll need a bigger brush for that. We'll just start with these little ones first. And we'll see the run out. Actually, I don't know if you can from there. Can you see it from there? It might move. We should be able to see dirty runoff. So I'm just going to go in. You can see all that brown crap coming out onto the cam bearing. I don't know if you can see it there. And we want it to run clear. So this engine wasn't hot tuned. But that's the idea, to get all that muck out of there. It just makes for a much better job. Now, engines that sit around, the oil does get a bit acidic, I guess, and as a result, it sort of bakes on and goes a bit varnishy. So I really want to make sure these galleries are looking fairly clean. Look at that dark brown crap coming out. Makes me a bit nervous. So much dirtier than Jason's was. But then his was hot cleaned. That's really bad, that one. This goes down, these two here split off and go down either of the, or both of the lifter galleries. These are your main feed ones. And we just want to make sure they are clean, because they're not at the moment. I always try and use about a can and a half of this stuff to clean up the block. Go for a bigger brush now, and go down the main guts of it as well. I've got a lot of dirty crap coming out of here. I think I've got most of it out. Yeah, that's not too bad. I'll go down these main galleries. And the last person that used this used Teflon tape. Tony doesn't like it. He likes liquid Teflon. It's a Loctite product, but I've got all this goop, Teflon tape goop at the end of this. That stuff, which I don't really want to see. Just I've got to make sure that's clean. I don't want any crap in there, because I'm working in a pretty dirty garage, I must say. Now, cleavos have a restriction here somewhere, where the brush goes in nice, and then there's a restriction, then it frees up again. And the solvent coming out is filthy, so we need to get that clean. I'm going to go from this side here. It's all brown. Look down there. Ah, where are we? So we just do that until it's nice and clean. Now this doesn't remove paint, not thinner, so I'm not that stressed about it really. It's just not nice to use it around your cars. Alright, let's go to the other side. Big one. I've pretty much got it now. That's going to have oil in it too, just a moment. Yep, did. Well, this is looking a lot cleaner. I've got the camera on a funny angle. Now, there's still some cleaning to do here. Some of the bores are very clean. That's not. The bottom half is where I could reach, obviously. So, I've blown out all the galleries. We're happy with that. I'll get a straight edge and I'll show you that in a moment. But I still need to clean the bores up with a bit of thinner. But at this stage, this is where we start bagging the engine up, because it's just had a whole bunch of cleaning done. I don't want it undone by drafts and dust and all sorts of things getting around, because it is a pretty dirty atmosphere we're doing it in here. You can get proper engine builder's bags, which are sort of a very thick, clear plastic bag, but of course once stuff starts dripping all over them, they're dirty. I just use these council bins, 240 litre. That's all you need. Yeah, $3 or $4 for a group of 10 of them. Hang on. And they keep things nice and clean. And you go through probably 3 of them when you do an engine, because after about your third shot you're putting all the tinware on, and once it's all sealed up you don't need to use them. They're not overly thick, but they are quite strong. So I'm just going to put that over. Whoops. And that'll keep things hunky-dory. And just tie off the end around the shaft of the engine stand. And that'll be fine. That'll keep it nice and clean. Come hell or high water. And until we work on it next, which is going to be tomorrow after work. Oil gallery plugs. There are 4 here. There are 5 in the engine. 1 there. I've just put that in. There's 1 down there. And 1 there. And another 2 at the back. Here and here. Now, they're different. You've got a J thread. These 2 pointy ones go in the front. The rest of them are all flat. Those 2 go at the back, and that's a flat one there. So the sealer we're using, Loctite 567 liquid Teflon. Tony, the engine builder, recommended using this stuff over and above Teflon tape. I was very tidy with the other ones. I'm not being too tidy with this. So I don't want it going inside the gallery, so I'm just sort of keeping it nice and neat. And that's the galleries in. Oops. There we go, fine. And that is a snap-on 8mm hex. And it fits like a glove. So we've got all those in, that looks good. It's time to do a bit of cake decorating. I don't like painted bolts. I've got a few issues like that, I suppose. You know, all these sorts of things. So I like to mask off. I'm going to paint the block before I fit Welshies and all that sort of stuff. I want the brass Welsh plugs exposed and nuts and bolts and all this other guff. But I figure I'll just mask this off and see. This is the old timing cover. See if I've got that covered. Now we're not going to do a sloppy Jason job and have paint peeling off, right? I gave you grief about that. Just a moment. I usually use a pen for this. Feel like I'm doing craft exercises. So I'm just going to get a blade and cut around the inside of the line. And then I know exactly what I have to paint to. Where's my razor blade? Right. It doesn't matter if you're a bit off, because the gaskets aren't ever precise. So I'm sort of painting up to there, up to that line, if you know what I mean. And it gives me a good indication of where everything's meant to be. This blade's blunt, that's probably half the problem. Let's go down here. we'll do the same sort of thing for the water pump. You can use a water pump gasket and mark out how much for the timing cover we have to paint, because you don't want to paint it underneath. It will just be a bit at the top there and sort of under here, not under where the gaskets go, but that gives you a good defined line at where everything needs to be. Just thought I'd give this thing a lick and a promise. I'm just brushing the block, it doesn't matter. Give it a couple of coats. A lot of people use specialist engine paint for this sort of thing. We're not. The other thing you can use is base coat. That's heat resistant. The block doesn't get that hot anyway, really. It's not like the cylinder heads, they get very hot, particularly, you know. But I've never, this is actually reduced a bit. It's just QD, it's not even QD, it's air dry enamel. And it won't go anywhere. I haven't even etched it, which I probably should have, but a lot of the old paint's still there. And I'll give it a second coat. But I'll fit the Welsh plugs when it dries. But it's the same way I painted all the other engines, the XW and the XC, and the XW I painted that. When did I do that? I did that first in 2014, it's nearly 10 years ago and it's all still there. Although, I haven't done many miles in it, so heat cycle wise it's probably not that significant. I'll spray the sump, the rock covers, you know, all the tin metal will get sprayed. But not the bare block. It's a rough casting, so a brush is fine for it, and the paint will self-level. Just let that go off and I'll give it a second coat and Bob's your uncle. Bit more hydroblasted stuff. I've just wiped this down in Prepsol ready to paint it, and marking out where to paint, if you know what I mean, just to make sure we don't see any bare metal. But you can't beat hydroblasting. It's gentle on the metal, it peens the metal, but it doesn't take any off. A couple of drive plates in very good condition. The air cleaner that had the blue air cleaner that had the 351 4V sticker on it, that was from my childhood. Another pulley was the knackered timing case. That one I'm going to just leave an edge, because that's a good way to mask up the block when you go to paint the block, and I'll just leave it hanging on the wall. Obviously it doesn't fix damage. The XA is going to be manual, so the second one is surplus, but that'll go on the Fairlane. And of course the sandwich plate, which looks like brand new, genuine Ford. I think John's got the other one, the Hydro Blaster. And this funky RTS sump. RTS is it? Radial tune suspension. It's a baffled sump. And they are so reasonable, $135 for a raw one. You wouldn't bother buying a genuine one that's bashed up to the nines for 60 or 80 bucks, whatever people ask for them. But just the only fault comes with a sump plug that's 14 feet long. But that's hardly a complaint, really. And I think they made the one in the XW. That's what it's baffled, and it's just like that one there. And yes, it is. It's the same brand. The only thing I don't like about this one is it's a lot of oil to fill it. But really good quality and fit. No leaks, no fitting issues with gaskets and that sort of stuff. Hang on a minute. So very happy. Right, this is the XA's engine. This one I'm really fussy about. This is a full rebuild, bore, everything on it. And I'm using this pan. It's been etched and what do you call it, hydroblasted all. And it's for, I'm going to use it on the Fairlane because it's not a baffled one. So huge digression. Engine mount plates, I don't know where they came from. I think they've painted over dirt. That's the reason I hydroblast everything, because it just looks so much better, and it is better. I started painting those black and then realised that they're for the XA. There's some of the plating. There's boxes of it, because this is all the stuff that came with the XA and the EJ, right? as well as this, which Jason's retrimming the car, and that's the centre armrest for the back seat in that car, so that's been blasted as well. There's been hanging stuff up here. I should have filmed unmasking that, it was great fun. But we've got the bits going on the 302 engine, that's just a thing. This one here, one of them has been balanced to the 9s, and it's got drill holes all over it. I can't remember which one it is. It's from the other side, so you can't see it. So one of them is just engine stand. I'll have a couple of those, and I've got a couple of those as well. So once we get that engine done, it'll just help it dry there, and it can just stay there as far as I'm concerned. There's the sum, almost dry. That can go on the 351 engine. No, that's the 302's one. The other one's in the garage. Balance power steering pulley goes on the Fairlane as well as these engine hooks and that balancer, which is rather badly done, but I don't think it matters. Means to an end, just getting it out of the way so it doesn't start rusting. Still going, but on my last one, so that's really, really good. It doesn't matter, I'm just checking clearances. So I'm sorry I haven't sort of spelled out exactly, what I'm doing. There's rebuild videos everywhere on YouTube, and also I've got a couple as well. I've just done Jason's one, which is available on his channel. But this is just a re-ringer. I have gone a bit overboard with it though. Look how tight they are. You can feel the air come out around them. So there will be a little bit more information on it. So dialing cams and stuff like that, I'm not going to bother on this one. I'll dial it in, but I'm not going to bother explaining it because it's in a couple of other videos anyway. Right, last one. Hey, another thing you've got to be careful of. This piston ring manufacturer made mention of it. Is your oil ring. Where's the end of it? Has to be butted. See, they're facing up. This side comes along and it faces up. That side faces up too. They made a specific instruction for it to be like that. The other thing is, I'm not using a hammer for this. I've got my rings all laid out, so I know what I'm doing, sort of. Just check your clearances with the ring buried. That's about 1.5 to 2 thousandths, maybe 1.5 thousandths. That's got a little bit more. Just make sure there's some clearance there. And then we're good to go. Now, which number is this? It's 6. I don't want that one. I want number 2. Just double check. Yep. I'm going to take this off. Now, I don't like reusing the standard Ford rods. I just don't. Because I love ARP, but the problem with it is I would have had to have got these resized had I been using, or had I used ARP. And I didn't want to take the pistons off or anything. I just wanted to re-ring this thing. So we're going to do. Some rings have a cutout, or sorry, some bearings have a cutout in them, so oil can squirt on the opposing cylinder through there. These ones don't. And I'm not sure what's the reason for that. So these are 10 and 10, 10 on the mains, 10 on the big end, this engine. And of course we're plastic gauging again. Whoopsie, there we go, 10 thousandths. I eyeball every one. Just because I don't want a stupid mistake from a packaging error or something like that. And I'm going to put that in, I'll put the heel in first and squeeze it down. Whoa, I didn't even get that straight, did I? There we go. Just make sure they're clean. It shouldn't sound crunchy when you put it in. And of course we've got to put the piston in first, and then once we've done that we've got to torque it up with our little plucky gauge in there. Don't forget that chamfered edge too, toward the edge of the journal. See? So those numbers, that's where some of them are cut out for squirting. You can see there's a hole there, but these numbers should be together. Right. So I just finished putting the rotator assembly in, just make sure that they're facing outside like that. And we've got to clearance all these. So I'm kind of desperate to finish this video because I've got to, it's the busiest time I've ever had. So when I tighten these up, just double check. Every now and then it's not a bad idea to double check the reading on your torque wrench. If I can see it. I do it bit by bit because what can happen, I don't want to just give it bias and tighten one side. So that's why people tighten them in stages. Like that doesn't even feel. And they're only 45 foot-pound. So let's bring them down together. They'll start clicking now. Oops. So that's cool. Now we're going to make sure it rotates between every piston installation. I've turned the engine. It does feel tightish, but not, tight. But it's consistent all the way around. Is prudent is to check the clearance between your big ends. There's a lot of motion there, and they generate a lot of heat, so they rely on oil to cool them. The spec is between 10 and 20 thousandths. That's 10 thousandths there, and that's snug. So all the clearances, that's perfect. All the clearances in this engine are on the lower side. Whoopsie, come back. There you go. The other thing we've got to check is the thrust, which is done here. The spec is 4 to 10 thousandths. That's a little bit loose at 4. And really tight at 10. Let me see if I can jimmy that forward. And check in there. Hang on a second. I'm just going to turn this around. Yeah, 10 won't even go in there. And 4 goes in beautifully. So that's really cool. These things, the instructions mentioned that I thought might be prudent to include. Old camshaft, pardon me, versus new one. Setting it up with the pin that determines the timing, and just making sure the lobes face the same way. And the old one that came out is in actually pretty good nick. What I have noticed though is the lift is a full, it's a lot. It's probably an eighth of an inch less. You can work out your lift if you don't know it, if you don't have a card, by measuring your base circle, measuring your lobe, and just subtracting one from the other. Lunati and Crow both ship with pins. These pins do come out. You can just grab them with vice grips and give it a tap and it'll fall out. So that's all good. Now I don't have, excuse me. I don't have my, well, it's not mine, it's my brother's handle to install it. So I'm just going to have to use a bolt and vice grips, which isn't the best way to do it, but that's all I've got. So I wanted to include a little bit of different information on this because the dialing in process I've shown on 2 other videos. One was Jason's, but the really comprehensive one where we went right into it was in another 351 Cleveland video. So we're using an ARP cam bolt because ARP, can you see that? ARP are the best. It's the same as the OE one really. The OE one was grotty, and of course I have cleaned it because I do intend to use Loctite on that thing. So I'm just going to pop that in there and it'll just hang on to it. It doesn't feel too clear actually. This did come, with a moly based lobe lubricant, which I'm going to use because I haven't got the heads back yet and I want the lobes. I don't want, I'll use Ultra Slick on the bearings, but I want to use something which won't fall off the lobes in the meantime. So I'm just going to wipe this down and we'll put some on. Go right around the thing. And then Ultra Slick, as I said before, because it'll allow me to rotate it. Well, this would too, but I just want to use Ultra Slick, right? There we go. On the lobe is probably the most crucial area because that's where all the pressure's going to be on it. So just make sure I've got all of that. I'm just going to get a vice grip just to hang on to that for a moment. And it rotates. It's just a bit gluggy with all that ultra slick on it, but it's doing what it's supposed to do. Right, camshaft thrust plates seem to cause some confusion. They've got little oil passageways. This one has them on both sides. Yeah, some of them don't. Some of them have them on one side and nothing on the back. So the rule of thumb is they face the camshaft, right? Yeah. This one can go either way. I'm going to put it back the way it came off, which is that way. I'm just going to pop a bit of this ultra slick on, just around. Actually, I might put it. No, I'll stick it around here. And I've got to also put some Loctite on, because I like to Loctite them. I'm going to pop that there, prepare my bolts, and torque them up. 9 to 12 foot-pound. I'm going for the max. I'm going for 12. And, whoa, that's probably too much. And that hole is probably going to have, there we go. Just get in there with you. You don't want these suckers coming out. That would be a bad day. There we go. Let's miss the hole. The hole's dry and these are clean. So very important to do that. To make sure they're all clean and good to go. And we will torque it up. Let's see what I'm doing. Okay, Rollmaster told me, he said they're available in different colours, and I always pick these for a couple of reasons. They're Australian made, but at the end of the day, that's not the reason I pick them. The reason I pick them is because they're good, and they don't seem to stretch at the same rate that a lot of others do. 9 keyways, so you can, when you go to dial your cam in, you can really pick what the best location for it is. Now this has ways to advance, so this is crankshaft degrees, 2, 4, 6, 8, -2, -4, so that's retarding it on the negative. Positive is advancing it. Now advancing it, there's an advantage with that. If your degree wheel tells you have to do it, you wouldn't do that without using the degree wheel. But with it slightly advanced a degree or so, that'll take up any future slack in the chain, if you know what I mean. So it's got that benefit. But it does also, with it advanced, give you more low end, if you like. Or just move it a little bit lower, a couple of hundred RPM. Retarded though moves your power higher up, and that's good with the performance cam because you're going to make more power. With the standard cam, the cam's going to run out of puff before the advantage, if you know what I mean, if retarded valve typing takes place. Now, there's this big chamfer there that goes into the boss. Okay. So, assuming we're just going standard. It doesn't want to go standard, there we go. That's going to sit all the way back like that. The other thing you've got to be really careful of, which I found out almost the hard way, was with the Galaxy. The Galaxy had, some of them have a bearing, a sleeve that sits in there and runs against that, like that. We'll put it on for now, and we have to make sure that the gears are lined up. The Galaxy had run in and it was right forward. I don't know how it didn't break. So I'm going to try with this, and if I don't like it, I'm going to pull it off. I'm just going to stick that on there. And a bit on the back of the... Alright. Now I'm just demonstrating this because I'm going to turn the camera off and do my dialing in. It always takes me a while to do it. And I don't really feel like talking. tight. There we go, what's going on. Also, some camshafts come shipped with longer pins. And it looks like they fit, but they also interfere with the fuel pump drive. Now that's nearly on. That's home. Hear the tone change. And I want this all the way home, which I can feel it. That's home. I have to turn it so you can see it a bit better. Can you see that? I think you can. Straight up is what it is at the moment. If you take a straight edge through the centre line of the crank and the centre line of the cam, those two should line up. Yeah? I can't see from where I am now, but I'm pretty sure they do. So I'm going to dial it in now. I'm not going to film it because I just need to concentrate and get done quickly. After that, we'll put the fuel pump eccentric on and a new ARP bolt. That comes in instruction. I think it's 45 foot-pound or something to talk to, and then we're good. I think that's pretty spot on. I'm looking through the fuel pump hole. I've got it level with this tooth, level with that one, and on here as well, and I think that's fine. Let me just swap ends. Oopsie, onto here, and that's fine. So I'll leave that. It's not a Torrington thing. It's just a sleeve in there, and torque that thing up and make sure it's right. Okay, so I've got that the way I want it. I've clearanced this. This actually clears. The one on Jason's didn't, so I left it off. That's the slinger. These are actually embedded in the back of the seal, so they're not doing much slinging really. They're not lubricating them. They say they lubricate all up around here, but I don't know how effective they are. A lot of people have run their engines without them and they've had leaks or anything, so I was sort of counting on that. Now I don't like Celastic. I'm using 3-bond product, and I do like 3-bond stuff. It's Celastic based though. But the reason I'm doing it is because I'm using a second-hand timing cover, which does have some corrosion around these bits, around where the coolant travels. So ordinarily I wouldn't use it. I'd use Permatex, not Permatex. Yeah, Permatex. Sorry. But the key to this stuff, less is more. You don't have to put 400 tons of it in. I'm just tired. The Plymouth was like this. I thought they did a great job on the engine on that car, but when I pulled it apart, there were huge beads of silicon. They just filled it up, and that's not how you use it. Or at least you're not supposed to. The other big no-no is putting a seal in dry, but I've made a mess of the paint because this is still a little bit sticky. Whoopsie! Come on, don't touch that. There we go. I've got a flawless one of these. Timing pointer, and I've got one that's not so good, so this is the not so good one. The flawless one's for the XA, obviously. Just let me go around here and mop up some of that mess. Like that. And then we'll put this bloke on. Damn.
Sorry, I had a little nap.
That's alright, love.
I didn't sleep well last night.
No, doesn't sound like it. Just to hang the thing. Get another one similar. I'll get this long one. That looks like an alternator one. Once I've got it hung, I can sort of take both hands off, like that, and figure out where all those buggers go. Right, so I can't find, there's two I can't find, which I will. I mean, I'll find something that'll do. That's the very top one here, which is smaller. And this guy down here is a bit too long. So I'm just going to tighten these up or nip them up. I'm not going to go nuts with them. Ooh. Chuck the old balancer on. This friggin' jam I used to paint them's air dried. It's not quite fully cured yet. There. Oopsie. Okay, that's as much as I want to do for now. Hope you've enjoyed it. Take good care of yourselves, and I shall see you soon. Bye bye.